Good to have you at our joining our first webinar. We're going to have quite a series of these webinars over the next few days, few weeks on different subject topics. Just trying to see how we can all best help and address some of the issues that you're grappling with due to this COVID-19, which has rocked our world. So just a few things. Feel free to put your comments in the comment section. But for question and answer, if you can just use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen so that it will be easier for me to just go there for question and answers. But for all other questions or comments, you can just type in the chat. Also, if you can type in the chat some of the topics that you'd want us addressed, that you want us to run over, like, you know, short time periods of like an hour max. What are some of the topics that you want us to do for these rapid response webinars? That's what we are calling them. Do note that we are obviously still going to be running our boot camps. We're going to resume in May, where we will do as per program. Yes, you are not on video. Yes. Someone's just like, we are not on video, right? Yeah, so even if you have your bonnet on or whatever you're comfortable with, your PJs, it's fine. You are not all on video. It's just me and Skulk. So no. I also today had to be presentable because I normally work in my PJs, but I just said, okay, I have to be on video today. So thanks a lot for changing my wardrobe today. I appreciate that. So it's 10 o'clock. We don't have a lot of time because there's so much to discuss, and I would imagine there'll be quite a number of questions. So we are going to start. So if you have any questions, type in the Q&A box. If you have any comments or charts or any suggestions of other topics we should run, put them in the chat box. Remember, this is our first webinar, so if it's not perfect, forgive me. We are not a giant tech company. We are also just trying, like every other business, to adjust to the new way of doing things. So our presenter this morning is Skulk, who has been doing quite a number of these webinars on fund relief. So I just thought there's so much information on fund relief and all these options that is floating around. I'm sure your friends have sent you WhatsApps and emails about it. So I just thought that would get someone, an expert, to break it down to see what would be more practical for you and how you can access some of these funds and relief options that are available. So, Skulk, I will pass it over to you to run with the session.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so let me just share my screen here, then we can jump into it because there is quite a lot of information that we're going to work through this morning. All right, let's see. Deborah, I presume my screen is showing, eh?
Yeah,
can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. Right. So let's go for it. So this morning, I'm just quickly we just have an hour. So my aim today is just to briefly discuss each of the fund or the reliefs that's available. I just want to touch on some of the pitfalls and the strategies and just how to navigate the various options, because there's a lot, and choosing the right ones is quite a daunting task. I've realized over the past couple of weeks, and then obviously there's so many changes that's going around. I mean, the TIERS program, there was 3 changes subsequent to the first announcement on that. So there's a lot of changes. So a lot of things that's important to remember. But yeah, so let's get to it. So this is pretty much all the list of deferral. If there are any companies here that CFA funded, there's some arrangements there. I'm going to talk about CIFA itself, COIDA. COIDA is the Compensation of Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. So that's when someone falls ill in the workplace. The TIERS program, that's the specific disaster relief program, which is managed by the UIF. And then there's some other UIF benefits, reduced work time, illness and death benefits. And then from a SARS side, there's some relief or deferrals on the pay and provisional tax side, and then also on the employer tax incentive. I'm going to talk about the Tourism Fund, the Sukumu Fund, South African Future Trust, the South African banks, and then there's some others that I think is noteworthy. Right, so let's get to it. So if you are currently a business that imports anything that's essential services or essential goods, as it was announced by the Command Council, you'll see, just a note before I go, and you'll see I made a lot of links in the presentation. The idea is that afterwards all my slides and supporting documents will be made available in PDF format, so you can just go and click on the various links that I've put in. It will navigate you to the direct website, so just to make it easier. Okay, so to come back to the customs, so if you are an importer of essential goods, then if you apply for your ITAC import permit, then there will be no customs duty or VAT on those imports. So if you import your face masks or the screens or any other things that's listed as essential goods, then you can claim or make use of the customs duty and the VAT that will not be charged by the government. So obviously you need to register there at the BIS portal, the CIPC website, to be regarded as an essential service or essential goods company. I'm not discussing the custom process and policies here. There's a lot of things that changed with customs now due to the lockdown and the offices that are closed. So if you need specific help on the processes to follow with regards to customs, you're more than welcome to contact us. Okay, so that's just on the customs side. On the excise side, so if you are the manufacturer of alcohol that is used in hand sanitizers or disinfectants, then there's no excise duty on the manufacturing of that alcohol, ethanol, that's used in these products. So if you are a manufacturer here today, just make note of that. It's a rebate item 62108. Right, then I'm going to go into the funding packages that's available. So the Department of Small Business made available 3 packages. We'll get to that now. But just some overall criteria you need to tick the boxes to be able to use some of these funding packages. Is that the company business must be 100% owned by South African citizens. Your employees must be 70% South Africans. Priority will be given to women, youth, and people with disabilities. You must be registered and compliant with SARS, and you must be UIF compliant. It's very important, these points that I mentioned here. Compliance during the period of lockdown and even after the period of lockdown is very, very important. You'll see all of, if not most, of the funding that's available require compliance. So in the industry, I've came across a few clients that was advised by their accountants that to save cash flow, do not pay taxes. If you follow that route, then you are really setting yourself up to fail. Please make sure that you remain compliant during this process, during this COVID lockdown and even afterwards, because if you need funding, it's very important. So please make a note of this. You must be registered and compliant with SARS. You must be UIF compliant. Right, so let's jump into the small business development funding packages that's available. It's currently 3 available. There's the Business Growth Resilience Facility. There's the SME Relief Finance that's available. And then restructuring of SEVA-funded SMEs. So the Business Growth Resilience Facility, that is a special fund that's now set up, or it was set up already. If there are businesses that want to make use or take advantage of the supply opportunities due to the coronavirus, due to a shortage of goods in the local market when it comes to essential goods, then you can apply for this funding package. It is pretty much a soft loan at prime list 5%, and the fund is made available for you to finance your working capital, stock, bridging finance, purchase order finance, and if you need to buy some capital equipment as well. So this is now typically you are a business, you are supplying face masks into the economy, and you now have a factory and you want to buy some equipment, or you want to buy some more materials to manufacture the face mask, or whatever the case may be, then you may use this facility or apply for this facility. There's a lot of criteria. So you'll see there for qualifying criteria in more details, you can click there. I also attached at the end of my slideshows in PDF format all the criteria that you need to adhere to, and obviously there's a lot of requirements that they look at. You need to provide cash flow plans, business models, etc., etc. But if you are a company that want to make use of, or you can take advantage of the shortage of goods currently in South Africa, or any essential products that needs to go around, and that's listed in the essential goods list that was published by the Command Council, then you can definitely make use of this. There's just a process that you need to follow. You need to register on the SME website with the government, and there's an application form that needs to be completed, and then obviously all the application form with all the supporting documents needs to be emailed to that specific address. Okay, so that's the SME Emergence or the Business Growth Resilience Facility that's available. Next is the Debt Relief Finance Scheme. I think this is the one that will probably be used most. This is for any business which are negatively affected directly or indirectly due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So this is a facility, it's a soft loan as well that you can apply for. It's to assist your company with working capital. It's limited to 500,000 Rand per SME. So this is now if you need cash flow, if you need money to stay afloat within the next few months, then this is a soft loan facility that you can apply for. Same process that you'll see there. You need to register on the SME website. There's an application form, which is the same application form as the other one, the Business Growth Facility. It's just a different option tick box that you need to tick on the form, and then you need to send it to a different email address, semerelief@ecfa.org.za. I'll also attach the specific criteria that you can just have a look at. So yeah, so this is just if you need money to pay your rent, or you need to, there's overheads, subscriptions, or any other cost, or stock, or any purchases that you made that you need to pay for, all those kind of things that's normal during this period that needs to go on, then this is definitely something that you can look into to just help you with your cash flow. Okay, so I'm not going to stay on this one too long, but if there are any CFA funded SMEs in the audience, then there is payment holidays on your CFA loan. As far as I know, they automatically give the payment holiday. It's a period of maximum of 6 months on the installment and the capital. So if you have a CFA funded loan, please just make sure that you do make use of this payment holiday that's offered on the CFA loans. Okay, all right. So that's the three options that's available from the Department of Small Businesses. And then I'm just going to go and talk about CFA. Normally when we go and look for financing, we normally go and look at the banks, what the banks can offer you. But there's a lot of government incentives or programs that's running that can also provide financing, like CFA, for instance. CFA now currently have tenders available. So you see there's fabric cloth face masks and food household supplies. There's 2 tenders now available. So if you're a company that can supply, then definitely you can make use of the CFA tenders. You'll see the deadline for submission of the application is the 30th of April. So please jump on this. You've got 10 days left. So CFA also, they do financing, direct lending products like asset financing when you need to buy a car or you need to buy a piece of equipment for your factory or anything else. Then there's bridging loans, revolving loan accounts, and then term loans as well. So just make a note of this. I mean, normally we just go to banks and we ask the bank to give us money, but there are government programs also available like CFA, where you can also obtain some financing for your business. All right, so that's CFA. Then COIDA, that's the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act. So if you're an employer, then you need to be registered with, due to the Health and Safety Act with COIDA. And so if you have an employee that falls sick or ill due to the coronavirus during this period, say you're an essential services company and you're working, let's say like a ShopRite worker or Pick n Pay worker or a factory worker in a food production environment, and they fall sick and they acquire the coronavirus, then there's specific COIDA funding that's available to be used, and it's obviously because and like I say, it is because an individual falls sick due to his work environment. So you can't sit currently at your house and then fall sick and then claim COIDA. It must be due to your work environment or due to the work that you do. Currently, all travel obviously is in lockdown. You can't really travel, but many weeks ago, when we were still able to travel overseas, etc., then and you traveled to certain high-risk countries and you contracted the coronavirus because you were on an official business trip, then you could have used the COIDA. So just make a note of this. So if your employee falls sick because you're operating, you have to use the COIDA benefits that's available. All right, good. Then we talk about the UIF. There's a few, we tend to forget everything that's available in terms of UIF. Every month from payroll, we deduct UIF and we not really think about it. But in times like these, it's important to just mention these things that is available. So the one that's currently very specific is the National Disaster Benefit, or the TIERS program, as they call it. It's Temporary Employee Relief Scheme that's available. So it's because many businesses now, because of the lockdown, had to close their business. And so there's no income. You still have all your expenses and you pretty much can't pay your employees. So this is now specific that employers, I mean, normal UIF, the employee will go and claim UIF. In the TIERS program, the employer claims on behalf of the employee. So it's a process that the employer needs to follow. So the payment that an employee will get from the TIERS program is minimum 3,500, which is minimum wage in South Africa, up till 17,712 Rand. But remember, this is a sliding scale of benefits. So you won't get 17,000 Rand. You'll get 17,000 Rand multiplied by 38%. So the higher the salary, the lower the percentage, and the lower the salary, the higher the percentage. As far as I understand it, they will not go below 3,500 Rand. So if you have employees that's paid minimum wage, they will pretty much get the minimum wage of 3,500 Rand from the fund, and not 3,500 times 60%. Okay. So the benefits of using TIERS program is that the normal UIF credit system is not applicable, so it won't negatively affect your employee. And this TIERS program is only applicable for the lockdown period or 3 months, whichever is the shortest. Okay. After that, we'll go over to normal UIF. So let's say we're now in a lockdown. By the end of the month, it's lifted and all our employees can go back to work. Then obviously the TIERS program will only be for the month from say the 27th of March till the 30th of April. But let's say they're phasing in the lockdown, and we are still to some extent you can't go back to work for say 4 months. Then for 3 months you'll be able to use the TIER programs, and then the month thereafter you'll use the normal UIF benefits. Okay, so it's important to note that this benefit is not an add-on to your salary. It's more a top-up functionality. So let's say you have an employee that let's say you pay them 4,000 Rand for the month due to leave, payout, or any payments that made by the employer. And the cap with the UIF, say, is 3,800 Rand. And that employee will not get anything additional from the fund because the value that you paid the 4 is more than the 3.8. Okay, so it's a top-up functionality. So if you say you pay the employee 3.8 due to leave payouts or whatever the case may be, and the cap of the fund is 4,000, then the fund will pay additional 200 Rand. So it's very important to note it's not an add-on functionality, it's a top-up functionality. So how it works is there's 2 steps that's currently available. You either send a blank email to that specific address, and the automated response will be replied to your email box with the relevant forms that needs to be completed. There's an Excel file that you need to put all your employees' details in, need to convert it in a very specific format in a CSV file. And then you have to send that with the MOI's letter of intents, etc., to the fund, to another email address. You don't send it to the same email address, but all the steps that are in the email. Or the other option that's now available, I think since last week, Wednesday, is the online application at uifecc.labour.gov.za COVID-19. It's an online platform where you register and you pretty much put all the detail that's required on the online application form, and then you submit it through there. So attached to my slides are the easy aid for employers, the application steps, and the frequently asked questions. So I think the important thing with the TIERS program is that they say specifically in the frequently answers and questions, the topic who can claim. And they say any business that's in financial distress, okay, and who can't pay their employees, and the employees are at risk of losing jobs. So that's pretty much that criteria. So if you're a business currently and you are operating, okay, you won't be able to use this. This is specifically for businesses that's been in lockdown. There's no income. There's no money to pay the employees. That's pretty much, with my understanding, who can claim from this fund. So just make sure that when you apply for these funds that you do qualify in terms of the criteria. Whether there's going to be audits afterwards, whether the funds that you got was eligible, we're not sure of that process. They said there will be strict processes that will be applied. So just important, don't just apply. Make sure that you can apply. Otherwise, you can just obviously create troubles for yourself in the future. Okay, so but that's the TIERS program. It's available currently, and it will only be available for the lockdown period. So if the lockdown is lifted by the 30th of April, you won't be able to apply after that. So you need to apply now. Okay, you've got 10 days left to apply for this now. Don't miss the deadline. Okay. Right, so then in terms of the other benefits, normal UIF benefits. So some companies, they do still operate working from home, etc., but the employer then reduced their work time. So you now get a fraction of your normal salary. Let's say the employer said that you can work now, or you put your employees on a 50% work time, then obviously you will only pay your employees 50% of what they usually got. So the reduced work time UIF benefit is pretty much where the UIF will pay the difference to what you paid and what the UIF benefit would have paid. Okay, so the same principle. Let's say you've got an employee, he's earning 20,000 Rand a month, he's capped at 17,000 Rand, multiplied by 38%, it's 6,000 something what odd, and you pay the employee 10,000 Rand, 50% of the 20. That employee will not get additional benefits from the UIF because what you pay is more as what the UIF would have paid. Okay, so it's normally, so let's say other example is you've got an employee, you pay them say 4,000 Rand a month, and it's at 60%. So let's say you pay the employee now 2,000 Rand, 4 divided by 2 is 2,000 Rand. And the employee of the benefit with the UIF, let's say, is 2,500 Rand, then the UIF will top up that additional 500 Rand. Okay, so that's the normal UIF process. There's a lot of documents that needs to be completed by the employer and the employee. On my next slide, I do make available the resources so that you can just go and click there, and then you'll have all the forms that's available. Okay, so the illness benefit is also UIF benefit. If you have an employee that had to go into self-quarantine, so let's say you had now an employee who was traveling overseas, he came back, the lockdown regulation said you need to go into self-quarantine for 14 days, and now he's not paid for that 14 days by the employer, then he can use the illness benefit because he was self-quarantined for 14 days. It's like a special leave that you put the employee on. The first 14 days is without the doctor's consent or letter. It's pretty much an employer-employee declaration, but after 14 days, then you need the consent of a medical practitioner. Okay, so just make note of that. I'm not sure whether we're going to use it now, or because we're already in the lockdown period. And if someone falls ill now, we'll probably use the CAIDA benefits as opposed to the illness benefit from the UIF. Then, let's say in the unfortunate event that someone do become deceased during this period, employee, then there is a death benefit with the UIF. The benefits are paid to the beneficiaries of the deceased. Normally the qualifying persons is the spouse, life partners, children, and nominated persons of the deceased. So just make a note of that. Okay. Right, so that's just some of the resources that's available. Easy Aid Guide for employers, Easy Aid Guide for electronic claims. So just important, if your employees need to claim UIF during this period, there is an online website, ufiling.co.za, where people can register, and then you claim online. So there's no need to go into the offices. The UIF offices, in any ways, they're closed. They're not operational at this point in time. So it's just important to note that there is electronic means available. The other thing is, mostly we need to provide proof of bank details. Most of the South African banks now, you can go and download an account confirmation letter from your online website or the online platform from your bank. You don't have to go into a bank to get an account confirmation letter. If you've got access to the internet and you can log into your banking profile, then you can just download your account confirmation letter there. All the various forms, it's available there if you just click on that link that I've added there. Right, let's go to the SARS side. There's a few incentives and deferrals that, let's say relief, it's more deferrals that's available for small businesses. So just some of the background is that this is only applicable for businesses that's turnover less than 50 million rand. The explanation note from SARS said it's for the 2020-2021 year. So this is the financial year that we are currently in. So it's not last year, it's this year. So it's the projections of what our turnover will be for this year. And it's effective from the 1st of April 2020. So just during the lockdown period, the first week, we had to pay payee on the 7th of April. And a lot of clients asked, but are this payee deferral now applicable also on that payment? And the answer was no, because the benefits is only applicable from the 1st of April. So if you now say, let's say, pay employees tax by the 7th of May, then it will be applicable. Okay. And just important, once again, like I mentioned, you need to be tax compliant. Okay, so if you're not tax compliant, you will not be able to use these deferrals. So it's very important, make sure you are tax compliant. We'll discuss that briefly. But just make sure you are tax compliant. Okay. If you're not sure whether you are tax compliant or not, speak to your accountant on the SARS platform. You can easily see whether there's issues on your tax account with the tax clearance system that's available on the SARS website. So if you do your own SARS submissions and payments, you can just go to your tax clearance tab on your profile, and then you'll exactly see what it is. If you don't know how to do it, you're more than welcome to email us and we'll help you with that. Okay, right, so the provisional tax, let's talk about provisional tax. If you need to pay tax, provisional tax by August or any period between that, normal business, most businesses in August and February, but if you've got a different year end, then obviously your provisional tax payments is in a different period. But what it pretty much entails that there's a portion of your first and second provisional payment that you can defer without paying penalties or interest. So let's say you need to pay provisional tax by August, and let's say your tax that you need to pay, or your estimated tax is say R1,000,000, then normally you would have paid 50% of that R1,000,000, but now you only need to pay 15%. And then February, you need to pay 65% of the total liability. Normally you had to be within 20% accuracy, and you had to pay a minimum of 80 or 100%. Now you only need to pay 65%. And then the third payment, you then have to top up the rest. So they pretty much assist you with 35% deferral within the first 6 months, and then additional 15, let's say 15% minimum in the next payment. So that's going to help a lot. So if you make profit during this time and you need to pay taxes, provisional tax, then this is going to help a lot in terms of cash flow. Right, so then the payee, if you do pay your employees during this period, well, say April, but definitely from when the lockdown is lifted, and you have a payee liability with SARS, then you can defer 20% of that payee liability from 1st of April to 31st of July. So it's pretty much for these 4 months that you can use the deferral, and then you have to repay that within 6 equal payments from 1st of August. So effectively your first payment that you will be making on the 7th of September 2020. So it's just important, the same with the provisional tax as with the payee, you need to declare your full tax. So if you need to, let's say, pay R1,000,000 provisional tax, then you declare R1,000,000, but you only pay 15%. So let's say you've got a payee liability of R1,000,000, you will only pay 80% of that. Okay, so but you will still declare 100%. You will just pay 80%. Okay, the 20%. SARS is currently working on their systems, so to obviously automatically eliminate the penalties and interest if you are tax compliant. Okay, just in terms of the VAT deferral, there's no VAT deferral or any relief on VAT. So if you had to pay your VAT now by the 31st of March, I hope you paid it, otherwise you're not tax compliant. If you need to pay VAT now, end of this month, because of your sales in March and April, say for instance, please do pay your VAT, otherwise you will not be tax compliant. Very important, there's no relief on VAT. Right, so then the ETI, Employer Tax Incentive, that's a program that's already in place. The only thing that SARS did is they expanded and the ETI that's available. So normally the first ETI it was R1,000 for the first 12 months. That was now increased to R1,500, and then on the next 12 months it was normally R500. Now it's increased to R1,000. So on top of that is that so the ETI is normally just available for individuals that's between the age of 18 and 29, and you earn less than R6,500. It's important to note that. But they have now also added the R500 for employees between the age of 18 and 65 years of age. So if you've got an employee that's earning less than R6,500 and he's older than 29 years of age, then you'll be able to claim additional R500 for that employee as well. Okay. The other thing is monthly, the refunds of ETIs normally happened every 6 months. That was now fast-tracked to be repaid on a monthly basis. So obviously if you have unused ETIs, then SARS will put that money in your hands quicker. So same principle applies from the 1st of April to the 31st of July, that we can make use of this. So if you still do pay your employees, then you'll definitely be able to use it. I know all the software platforms, Sage, etc., are working on including this automatically into your system. So if you are using a South African system, then you'll definitely be it will be automatically into the system. All right, so just some resources that's available there. SARS release a FAQ quite often, and they do update as questions arise. So the latest one we have is from the 8th of April. So you're welcome to just go and look at that, exactly how it will work, how the calculations will work. Right, good. So the next one is the tourism fund. So if you are a business providing or your accommodation establishments, or hospitality and related services, or travel and related services, like a travel agent, or you like a guest house, etc., then you can claim from the tourism fund. It is a grant, it's not a loan. It's a 50,000 Rand grant that's available per entity. There's an application form, online application form that you can submit. So you'll see the link is there, and all the other details, qualifying criteria, etc., is available. You can just click on the link, and there's frequently asked questions that the Department of Tourism also made available, and you can go and have a look. So this is definitely something that you can use if you're in the tourism industry. Definitely go and have a look at it. It's a 50,000 Rand grant. You don't have to repay. Right, the Sukuma Fund is the fund, is the billion Rand that the Rupert's made available via business partners for small businesses. It consists of both grant and loan funding. So if you're a sole trader, I think it's a grant of 25, and if you're a business registered with the CIPC or a trust, then it's 25,000 Rand grant with a loan between 250,000 Rand and 1 million Rand. But unfortunately, this fund is temporarily closed since the 6th of April. There was just a flood of applications, but the application platform is closed, but you can still ask to be registered. If they open up the funds again, or the fund again, then they will notify you. So if you want to make use of this facility, just go and register yourself on their mailing list, that you can be notified if they need to, if they make more money available. The link is available there. Good. And the South African Future Trust, it's the billion Rand that the Oppenheimers funded into a trust. This money is administered via the mostly South African, or the South African banks. And this is pretty much a loan that the bank will give you via the South African Future Trust in order to assist you to pay your employees. So the fund is 750 Rand per employee per week for 15 weeks. Okay. And it's an interest-free loan for 5 years. So in 5 years, you don't have to pay anything back. There's no interest on it. You just need to pay the whole sum back by the end of the 5 years. If you want to prepay it earlier, you're welcome to. As of the 17th of April, 44% of this fund was already allocated. So if you want to, if for instance, this month you're paying your employees, but you need cash flow, then this is very, very helpful, because the bank will pay your employee directly, let's say 3,000 Rand for the month, or for a month, then, and you pay your employee, say 6,000 Rand, then obviously the 3,000 Rand can come off as a loan from the employee's salary, and you will only need to pay them 3,000 Rand. So this is really something useful. There's no obligation on this loan from the employee's side. It's the employer that needs to repay it. So it's very easy. You just go to one of these South African banks, Absa, FNB, Investec, Mercantile Bank, Nedbank, or Standard Bank, and you apply directly through them. But you need to be, you already have to, you need to have an account with any of these banks already. So if you're an FNB client, you just go into your FNB online profile, and there's a specific place where you just click, and then it will take you through an assessment, and from the assessment they will verify that you can make use of this fund, and then they will send you the next steps that goes with it. So it's really easy and it's really fast. Good. So that's the South African Future Trust. Make use of this. It's really helpful. Then South African banks, all of the South African banks, most of them did pass some let's say regulations on how they will assist the South African economy, their clients, either private or in business. So if a business or a private individual is negatively affected by the COVID pandemic, then the bank will definitely help you. There's various measures that's currently in place, either from payment holidays, etc., that you can make use of. So if you're a client, say of FNB, you can just click there, and they will clearly discuss or make sure that you understand what is available, how they can help you with your cash flow. Right, so I'm just quickly going to talk about Some other relief mechanisms. I think maybe, sometimes we forget all of the funding that is available, like I said earlier in this presentation as well. So I think from these slides, just make a note of all these fundings that's available. Most of these fundings are not available just now. It was available and will be available. So from the government side, there is DTI incentives. There's a lot of incentives. There's the agro processing support scheme. There's the black industrial scheme of money that's available, where they pretty much invest directly in your business so that you can buy capital equipment. So make use of the DTI incentives. Currently, the government do place high regard on the procurement of goods from small businesses, specifically through the Department of Small Business. I've mentioned those tenders that's currently going around. So go and register yourself on the supplier central supply database of the government. There's a lot of tenders that's going around, and you can definitely make use of that. Then the IDC made a lot of money available. There's distress funding available, and then there's also essential suppliers interventions funding that's available. So please go and look there. Then the National Empowerment Fund also are making loans available, so you can just go and have a look at that. Then the Youth Business Fund, it's something that I came about yesterday. It's a fund that's set up specifically to assist young people in business, and assist youth entrepreneurs from operational cost, paying labor costs, rental, etc. You can go and access it via that link. I'm not sure whether it's operational. Like I said, I just came across it yesterday. It's something new. So maybe just kind of have a look at it. Then there is when you are in the retail space and you are renting in the bigger malls, there was a retail tenant assistant relief package that was made available, so that landlords and tenants can come to an agreement in terms of how they're going to go about rent in malls, etc. So just going to have a look at that as well. And then something that we often forget is, and it's interesting, since the lockdown, I don't receive any calls to sell me insurance, but most or some of our accounts, like your Edgar's account or your Woolworths account or your Foschini account, etc., or some of your debt agreements do have credit insurance in place already. So there's some scenarios that kicks in. If you can't pay, then the credit insurance kicks in. So if you've got accounts, if you've got debt agreements, either in your business or personal capacity, and you are affected negatively by the COVID pandemic, just go and have a look. Maybe, just maybe, there's something that kicks in. And remember, credit, most of these insurance will not necessarily automatically kick in. You'll have to trigger it. So just go and have a look. Maybe there's some relief that you can get from that. Right, so I think that is just from a what is available point of view, and it's a lot. I mean, we're already 48 minutes into the webinar, and it's a lot that I said. But how do we go about this? I think that's the important thing, is where do we start and where do we end? And yesterday I said to my wife, you know what you require if you know what you need. Okay. I think one of the things that happened over the past 3 weeks, we went into a craze. Okay, so there's all these funding and just apply, and you're not exactly sure what you're applying for and what you actually need. So I advise my clients, go and do your spreadsheets, go and do your business plan for at least the following 6 months. Put out your expenses, try and do some calculations on what you think your turnover can be, and be realistic. When I teach in the entrepreneur space, and I see all the business plans and all the financial plans that comes to me for review, I normally ask myself the question, if I take the turnover and I divide it by 2 for the first year, will the business still be able to survive? Does it make financial sense? So be critical on your turnover. We don't know how it's going to be after, if the lockdown is lifted now by the end of the month. What will be the sales that will go through in May? Don't think it's going to be exactly what was happening in February. I don't think so. It's gonna really, I think, phase in. So if you do your calculations, how will your business look if you only get 20% of your sales that you had in February or March even? And the month thereafter, 30%, and gradually work it up to 100%. Don't start with 100%. Start at a low percentage and test and really stress test your financial predictions. So do your business planning and then decide on your strategy. I mean, if you've done your figures, you know your business, you know your products, you know what your services that you can offer. Do your business planning and decide on your strategy. And then from that, decide what relief funding measurements complement this business plan and strategy that you have decided. So, because it must support you. Finances always support your business model, not the other way around. So it's a thing I think many individuals now can make the error of getting funding and not sure how it's going to pretty much support your business. So if you work according to the alignment model of business planning, funding is supported, support your business model, not the other way around. And then understand your qualifying criteria for these various measurements, apply and remain compliant. It's really important. It doesn't help you that you apply now and 2 months down the line you're not compliant. Because it's really important to try and stay compliant. It's important that you must plan for liquidity in your business in the short term, not just now. Don't just plan for April. Don't just plan for May. Also plan for August. You must look at it in the short term. You must plan at least, I would say, for the next 6 months. Right, so just in other words, business planning, keep the business afloat using all relevant measures available. You won't be able to use all of them, but use a matrix of complementary funding or relief that's available. So look at your expense budgets. Do your expense budgets, how you can manage those expenses. I mean, if you are renting, manage that expense. Talk to your landlord. If you've got subscriptions, online subscriptions, Adobe or whatever the case may be, and your employees is currently not working, is it really necessary to still pay for 6 licenses? Maybe just pay for 2. So manage your expenses. Don't just don't let it tick over because you're not using it. The same with cash flow. From your expense budgeting and management, do your cash flow budget and also your management. Maybe there is some of your suppliers, like your accountant, that he is fine with it if he delivers now the service, but he's not paid now. It's different. So you can still have the expense of your accountant, but it's not necessary. Maybe you can agree that you pay him off over the next 3 months. So it's important to understand your expense management and your cash flow management. Then use your COVID-19 grants, use your COVID-19 finance, and use your COVID-19 deferrals like the tax ones. But then most important, also look at new business opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities going around now. Even though everything is in lockdown, there's a lot of things that changes. Okay, so look into your industry. I know a lot of businesses now are going online because they were forced to do it. They talked about doing online sales, online distribution, etc., etc. And now it's the time to do it, because the reality is, if the lockdown is lifted by the end of April, from what I gather from the president and the ministers, it will be phased out. So how can you still deliver your product? Maybe, let's say, the freight companies can start operations, but you can't. But maybe you can still deliver your product via them. I don't know. So there's a lot of opportunities that's available. So yet again, liquidity of the business in the short term, not just now. So it's really, really important to just remember that. All right, so I think just some notes on the way forward. I think you need to understand that this is new to all of us. None of us ever went through a virus pandemic. Surely not the governments, definitely not businesses. So it's new to all of us, and we need to be very real in this approach. I've got clients. They when I talk to them, they say they're hoping for the best. Now, I hope for the best as well, but we need to be real. Okay, we need to take this day by day and week by week, and take it from there. You can't just hope it will just get better. You need to do definitely something. So that's why I said on the previous slides, look at your expense management, look at your cash flow management. Okay, be real about it. You can't just leave it and hope for the best. So I think it's going to be challenging times ahead. I mean, if we look at what the economist says about the GDP and the recession and what the worldwide recession that's going on now. So it's really going to be challenging times, but look for those new opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a Chinese, or I think a Japanese proverb that says that problems brings opportunities, or something like that, and it is really true. I can really vouch for that. So the period of the lockdown is still uncertain. Okay, so don't plan that you can. I said, well, 2 weeks ago, I said in my one webinar, don't plan that the lockdown will be lifted. Plan rather that the lockdown will be extended. Okay, so I think from what I can gather from the government is that the lockdown will probably be lifted by the end of April, but it will be under very strict conditions still. So it might be a partial lift of the lockdown. So will our businesses fall into that lift? Maybe not for another month. We're not sure. So maybe we should plan for a longer period. Right. Expect many changes and mistakes. I mean, the Tears program, there was 3 changes already since it already started. So everything is unclear. So please expect it. Don't go about your day and think it's just going to be. It's not going to happen. It will happen. And I think it's very important for your physique, so that you go into your day knowing that things will change and that there will be mistakes made, so that you can just keep up with it. Okay, and expect many things to be unclear. Over the past 2 weeks, many things became clear, especially with the funding that's available, but many things will still be unclear. Okay, so and then I think also there's a lot of stuff going around on WhatsApp and Facebook and all of these platforms. And please just use official channels. Don't listen to what every guy says around every corner. Please use official channels. You're more than welcome to join our mailing list. We've already sent out most of these financing that's available via mail, but we do send out frequent emails. So you're more than welcome to join our mailing list. Right, so that's it from me. There's my contact details, my cell phone number, direct cell phone number. You're welcome to send me a WhatsApp. If I don't answer, if you call, please leave a WhatsApp still. There's my direct email and then our website. So you're more than welcome to make contact. Let's discuss this. That's it from me.
Okay, thanks, Kalk. I just have some questions that just came up on the Q&A chat. Some of them I can answer. It says, yes, you'll all be getting the slides after these. One of the questions came from Andile. He's asking, just before lockdown, CIFA advised it was not taking applications as they did not have funds. Has the status now changed?
I think they probably allocated their funds more into the Business Resilient Fund and then obviously the SME Fund. So I think it might be that they've put that other financing on hold. So for the time being, I'm not sure, but if you want to make use of their funding, do make contact with them and they'll advise you accordingly.
Okay. And then another question from Andile with regards to COIDA. Does this cover medical treatment from private hospital? If employee does not have medical aid, does the employer take the employee to hospital and is it covered by COIDA?
Yeah, so I mean, how COIDA normally works is, I mean, it does take a long time before you get any funds from them, and it's a due process that needs to be followed. So what happens is the employer normally pays for these expenses, and then it's just the COIDA will reimburse you. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Okay. Then Alan is just asking everyone if there has anyone been successful with any of these applications, and as it would be good for them to share some tips. So to all our attendees, has anyone been successful with accessing any of these applications? Has anyone tried to do so?
From what I gather, we had some success on the Tears program. Now the past few days, there was success on the Tears program, the South African Future Trust. I've heard of many success stories on that. I haven't heard any of success stories on the SME Relief Fund. None of my clients applied for that up till now, so I'm not sure on that one. And then obviously the Rupert one is, I think, very successful. Otherwise they wouldn't have closed it. Unfortunately, that fund just went way too fast. But yeah, on the South African Future Trust and on the Tears program, there's definitely success.
Okay, so there's one person, Zarina says that she is battling to register with Tears online. Any other tips on how she can register?
It all depends on what she's struggling with. I know there's back-end issues on the UIF numbers. The website also was really unstable last week. I've tried mine applications for my clients over the weekend when the website was quieter and it was really easier. So I think it all depends on the time of day and the website and the strain that's on the website. Yeah, it should. And then the other thing is on the CSV file, the file needs to be in a very specific format. So if the file is not converted from Excel to CSV file, you will definitely struggle. So, but on the website, if you registered on the U-filing or the Tears U-filing UIF website, then there is documents available that you can download that will guide you step by step how to convert the files. So it all depends on where they get stuck in the process.
Okay, Zarina, I hope that helps you. And then Nontle is asking, and I think we'll also cover more of this tomorrow because we are talking about labor law tomorrow and on Wednesday as well. But she's asking what implications are against an employer if he reduces working hours to half on fully employed staff. The employer is commission earner and therefore is unable to meet salaries, neither intends to retrench or lay off. So what sort of like implications are against an employer if they reduce working hours of their employees?
Now, you have the right as an employer to reduce working hours. I just advise that you do follow the Labor Relations Act when you do these things. And one of it that's important is consultation with your employees. I'm not a labor specialist, but that's just the right thing to do is do consult with your employees, hear what options they also can bring to the table. Make it a discussion between employees and the employer, and then decide on a strategy. But if you as an employer need to put your staff on reduced working hours because of what's happening, then you have the fullest right to do that.
Yeah, so Nontle, thanks, Kalk, for that. Nontle, tomorrow and Wednesday, any of the days, if you're free, you can join. We do have a labor specialist, and she is going to be talking about all these issues. So we have that topic, which we're going to cover with a specialist on that particular subject. So you can either join us tomorrow on Tuesday at 10 or on Wednesday at 10 if you're not able to join. It's still the same topic, but we've just given 2 days for it. I don't see any other questions. Oh, okay, there's one here from Susu. Are all these funds only applicable for the lockdown period? I have applied at the beginning of lockdown and had no joy. What happens to our applications after lockdown?
So some of these funds are available only during the lockdown period, like the Tears program, but the others are definitely extended beyond the Tears, the lockdown period. So all your SARS relief, the SME funds that's available, the essential goods funds that's available, most of these funds are available after the lockdown period. So I'm not sure what fund the gentleman applied for. but it will be, yeah, definitely after the lockdown. I think it's only the tiers program that's during the lockdown period. You need to apply for that during the lockdown period.
Okay, cool. Then, oh, okay, Andele's asked, okay, Andele, yes, so this week we have 2 more, tomorrow and Wednesday, we're going to be looking at labor law for our webinars, and then if anything else comes up, I will be letting you guys know. Also feel free to also send me a topic that you might want us to address in this type of forum. I have another question from Rueda. If a company pays an employee for 2 weeks, can the employee claim for UIF for the remaining 2 weeks?
It all yes, the program that's going to be available depends on what happened to the employer. If you went into lockdown, okay, and you did not earn any income, then you can use the tiers program, and then the value that you paid to the employee will just be deducted. Otherwise, if you're still working and it's more reduced hour scenario, then yes, you will still be able to utilize the UIF for reduced work hours. So, but both are yes.
Okay, cool. And again, like I said, we'll answer more of these labor employee questions tomorrow. Yes, Nontle, we are making the links available to you via this presentation. I'll share it with you guys after this. Any more questions before we sign off? Okay, and then obviously, Andele says, thank you for the session. So thank you everyone for joining us and for making the time. Marit says it was so informative. Thank you so much, Skalk, for also your time and for just sharing this with our SMEs. Be sure to join us either tomorrow or Wednesday if you're interested in how to navigate labor law, especially during this time. We do have a labor specialist who is coming to join us tomorrow and Wednesday. So it's still the same topic, so you can just either register on either of the days, and then we'll have more discussions on that. I'll also advise when we have other topics coming up on some of the subject matters that you guys are faced with during this time. Most people say thank you for the session. Thank you. And thanks for joining us. So from my side, thanks. I'm so happy our first webinar had quite a number of attendees. So we thank you, and we just hope that you continue to hang in there. We are doing as best as we can as Edge, and you'll see that also most of our mentors are also down with you in the trenches, because we're just trying to find what is the best way for us to help you during this time, because we are quite invested and committed in making your businesses work and survive this time. So from our side, we just say keep hanging in there. We'll try by all means to make any resources available to you, whatever we hear. If there's new information, again, we will also do such webinars where we'll be able to also then convey and share some of these ideas. Thanks again, Skalk, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow and Wednesday for those of you that can join us. But otherwise, continue to stay safe, and we'll see you again when we start to do also bootcamp. So be on the lookout for the new calendars for some of the programs. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.